Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, March 14th, as I record this. And I just want to remind you guys this is airing on Thursdays, but we're recording it on Tuesdays because Thursday's got too much for me, too much going on. I need to give some myself some sort of self-care. But today we are actually going to be talking about how I became a motivational speaker. And as you can see on the bottom of it on the bottom of my screen underneath my name, it actually says disabled rights advocate, which I am. And that's a new thing on StreamYard. When I logged in this morning, Tuesday, March 14th, on StreamYard, I saw that. So I'll put disabled rights advocate every chance I get now. And how I became a motivational speaker is for those of you that don't know, I have a physical disability. For those of you that don't know, I lost my mommy in 2010. I lost my biological mom in 2010. I was 23 years old, and she was such an advocate in my life um, that I thought, okay, I'm going to write a book as she was dying. And she actually helped me come up with the name of that book in when she was in the medically induced coma. Because the thing about medically induced comas is people can still hear you. Um, the swallowing mechanism is the first to go. The water retention that you'll see people in medically almost get a lot of water retention because that's the way it is, swelling and water retention. But the hearing is less go. So people that say, oh, you can't hear your loved ones in the medically induced coma, that's completely wrong. Because I said, I love you, mom, I love you, mom, I love you, mom, over one, over 100, over 1,000 times, over 100 times, because her medical machines that were her support system at the time, medical machines, were going off 1,000 miles a minute, and I think she was about to have a heart attack, or at least have an asthma attack. Asthma was one of her main disabilities, and she dealt with it very well. And so I think she was about to either have a heart attack or or asthma attack. And I remember walking down that hallway to the ICU and her saying, "Help me, help me, help me," to me telepathically, because the nurses weren't doing anything. I mean, they're so used to these noises that they block them out, just like I block out the 101 now, unless it's a scary noise. I mean, it will be 2 years, March 20th, that I've been down here. So, unless it's a really scary noise on the 101, I am so used to the 101. And that's what happens in nurses' stations. And I don't know if you can see behind me, I don't have the lights on in that little alcove behind me, but that is my mommy. My mommy through and through. That is her ashes. Yes, she was cremated. And yes, we're going to talk about um, the stigma of dying and the stigma of death next week. And I made a comment in a public setting last week. No, this week. This week Sunday, I made the public comment. I said, "Yeah, you can't be afraid of dying because we're all gonna get disabled once, and then we're all going to die. And so you can't be afraid of dying if you want to take care of the disabled. And a true community means to me having equal opportunities and educating people about the disabled. So therefore, getting back to how I became a motivational speaker is this. I wrote a book called I Come a Win, and all maybe Mark can grab it in the chat. I should have put it. You guys can still hear me. You guys just can't see me. I wrote a book called I Comma Win, and it's on Amazon. And I'll put my books in the chat so Mark can put it in the comments on Thursday. And so I wrote this book after my mom died. And so it's very interesting to me that I was very lucky enough that I sold over 1,000 copies when the book first came out, and it still makes me money to this day. It's all over the place. It's on Draft to Digital. It's on Amazon. It's on every which way. It's even on in audio format. So go check that out. Again, it's I Come a Win, and I'm updating Draft to Digital, and I should do a Pod TV on how I wrote a book, because I wrote that book in a year using speech dictation. So yes, you can write a book using speech dictation. You have both on the Android side and the iPhone side, you have speech to text dictation on your phone. They also on the Android side have thank you, Mark. They also have on the Android side Dragon Naturally Speaking. Now, Dragon Naturally Speaking does not work on Macs. It does not work on Macs. It only works on PCs. I know this because I had a PC at one point and got rid of it. But I use Siri. I use Apple's dictation all the time, and with Siri, you have to be careful what you say because it will catch open their conversations if you're not careful. But I wrote a book on I wrote a book using Siri. It's all over the place. Mark said it's also on Goodreads, which is flashing at the bottom of the screen right now. And so it's, yeah, which is scrolling. I know. It's flashing, it's scrolling. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see Goodreads scrolling. You'll also see my website scrolling. askwin.webelieve.com/WinTalksBooks, but askwin.webelieve.com is my main website if you want to find my work personally. And if you want to go to podtv.com and support everyone on this wonderful channel, you are more than welcome to do that. And I'll put podtv.com on my own website so that people know I have this show. And so the reason why I wrote this book is because I wanted to leave a legacy for me and leave a legacy for how I grew up. And the reason why I started a podcast is, again, to leave a legacy in audio formats, because a mommy in the ICU, in the neonatal intensive care unit, NICU, as they call it for short, may not have the resources to go to a support group. She may not have the resources to catch the Uber, to catch the bus, to catch everything, to go to a support group about their child. And yes, cerebral palsy is different. Cerebral palsy is different in the way it manifests. I know people that can't speak at all. I know people that have heavy speech impediments too. And so basically, cerebral palsy manifests itself every which way. So I want to give people hope through Pod TV and through my podcast. And that's why I wrote a book to begin with. And I am now speaking at one of my favorite podcast conferences. I went as a guest in 2020 and 2020, the week before the pandemic. I went as a guest. And then turns out they caught wind that I was coming again. And they sent me a private email saying, "Do you want to set up a Zoom call?" I said yes. I took the opportunity to set up a Zoom call. Next thing I know, I'm invited to speak on stage. This year, I'm actually speaking March 29th and virtually on Hoover. Hoover is an app that most conferences use. It's Hoover. And I have the information. I have a code, a discount code for you guys. It's my last name, Charles, CHARLES 49 on. And if you go to PodFest and buy podfest.com, click on tickets, you can use my code to get a discount. And of course, you can buy, I would recommend you get the Creators Pass or get the Educators Pass, because all tracks are on there. And March 29th is when I'm speaking. Unfortunately, I'm not speaking live. It's a pre-recorded presentation that I did, and if I need to switch it, I will. But if I need to make it better, I will. But it's a pre-recorded presentation that I did. Unfortunately, they won't let me speak live. That's the way Hoover works. And Audible is a screening. Audible is scrolling across my screen right now. And so, yeah, that's another way of finding my books. And so basically, that's how I became a motivational speaker. I've been lucky enough to do the Kona Ironman, speak about that. I've been lucky enough to speak twice at the University of Virginia. I've been lucky enough to speak once in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is near Durham. Thank you very much. Where Mark Lee is located, at the at Learn and Leave a Legacy. I forgot the name. That was a long time ago. Learn and Leave a Legacy at Charlotte University. And I happen to have a family member in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I was lucky enough to stay with them and see them and hang out with them. And they came and watched me speak. And that was at the University of Charlotte in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I do a lot of things virtually. My podcast is virtual. You can listen to it every which way. It's everywhere. And so I'm speaking on March 29th, time to be determined, Eastern Standard Time, time to be determined, which Eastern Standard Time is now 4 hours away from me because it used to be 3. Fun facts. Mark, I'm telling on Mark here. Mark calls me this morning at 8:15 my time, thinking that I'm in daylight savings time. Well, fun fact: Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time, nor does Hawaii. So what we do is switch to Pacific time. Yeah, and so that's been a fun and wonderful last 2 days switching, learning that my body clock can switch to Pacific time because Dumb and Dumber Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time, and so it's like, yeah, so it's really 8:19 9 o'clock instead of 9:19 when my because Colorado's now 1 hour ahead. So when my body clock goes 8:19 and it wakes up at 5 thinking it's 6 and ugh. And so fun fact, Arizona does not do daylight savings time. And yeah, you aren't missing anything. No, daylight savings time screws everybody up on the planet. And so Arizona, I learned the hard way that Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time because I had a mutual friend of mine, a friend of a friend who became a mutual friend of mine, that grew up in Arizona. And so I said, I think you should change the vehicle clock to what time it actually is, because she was driving my friend's vehicle. My friend had a handicap accessible van. He still does, like me. And so she goes, "Why?" I said, "Because it's daylight savings time." She goes, "When? I grew up in Arizona and we don't have this stupid thing called daylight savings time." And so it's interesting because Arizona, and I just found out Hawaii doesn't do it either. And I think I read last year article based on an MSNBC that the Senate is trying to pass a bill when all states get out of daylight savings time. I mean, daylight savings time is for the birds now, since I'm in the state that doesn't do it. And so it's interesting to me that so many states do it, even though they're trying to pass a law saying that daylight savings time doesn't really work and screws up body clocks and screws up work styles. So again, if you go to podcast movement, no, podfest.com, podcast movement is a totally different conference, which I haven't been to yet. I want to. But Podfest is where I'm speaking. And if you go to tickets and type in Charles 49 and like my speech, because it's a case study speech. And so like my speech, like also like Pod TV. And if you have the finances, please, please, please support my books. Please support all independent authors. And I'll see you on March 29th when my presentation goes live. And you have to download Hoover and type in Podfest. It will ask you what conference you're joining. Say you're joining Podfest. Podfest is run by the wonderful Chris Gametzold in Orlando, Florida. And so I got to go to Orlando, Florida last year and speak and have fun with those guys. And then I got to speak again at this year virtually, although they I think you want to invite me back next year to speak into the light. I don't know. It all depends. So I want to let you guys know about that. Also, askwin.webelize.com/my books/ you can go find my books everywhere and anywhere, on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, on audio, on every which way. And the reason why I did it on audio is because for people with disabilities, well, it turns out that people who are neurotypical, who are too lazy to pick up a book, like audio too. And because we have busy schedules, they like audiobooks too. And so you can also find it in your local library through Libby and Overdraft. I know that the Phoenix Library, I know that a bunch of local libraries use Libby and Overdrive as part of the rental system. So ask your local library to order I Come Win and put it on Libby. So get 1 million copies of it and then put it on Libby. And that's how you can rent it from the libraries. I'm actually listening to books on Libby myself, and I should probably rent my own book to figure out what I said, or at least buy a copy of my own book. I need to buy a copy off Amazon. I can get discount awesome copies, but I need to do that. I need to get back on the circuit myself after this move and after testing out of a rate. I can finally get back on the circuit myself. And so we will catch you guys later. Again, go to PodFest and buy your tickets using my code. That's the website. Mark just put it on the screen, scrolling across the screen. So you can do that. You can buy my books. Use the code Charles49. Again, time to be determined, but I'll let you guys know what time I'm speaking again. That's in Eastern Standard Time. So that's 4 hours away from me, 3 hours away from Colorado time, which is Mountain Time, 1 hour away from Central Time. And so you guys can look on that and leave me comments, and Mark will get back to me. Also, like Pod TV, like AskWin, subscribe to AskWin, and AskWin could be found everywhere. And if you have the financial means, go get my books, or at least rent them from the library. I know they're on Libby, and I know they're on Overdraft. So again, most of the libraries nationwide use Libby and Overdraft, and yes, it's an English speaking book, but it's a good book. So I will catch you guys next week, and I hope you guys have a fabulous week. Thanks, you guys. Bye, you guys.